I had spent the summer traveling all over the country to various United Church of Christ and Disciples of Christ summer camps to talk with teenagers about peace and social justice issues. And I really believe to this day that the moment that I knew that I was being called to pursue a degree in seminary and to work in ministry was that conversation, my very last day as a peace intern.
I'm just so eternally grateful for all the connections I made with the other interns, with the leaders, and especially with the young people that I got to meet. It was life-changing.
In 2004, when I went to a church camp in Canada, I was impressed and amazed by all these kids who knew this peace song I'd never heard, and they already knew it on the first day of camp and were ready to sing it. And I realized I had things to learn from them.
Out of the blue there in Newton, Iowa, a minister who was the camp director for that week asked me what my plans were for seminary. I was completely taken aback. I told him those were not my plans. He smiled, which infuriated me because I had my plans and ministry was not part of them. He and God have the last laugh.
So when I was preparing for my Peace Intern Summer of 1975, I discovered the radical pacifism of Jesus. I wasn't at all sure if I was having much impact on people's lives, but just a few months ago, a good friend of mine, Ray Faddick, with whom I talked frequently that summer, passed away. And I learned at his funeral that he was a pacifist. So you never know when you're having an impact on people's hearts and minds.
My DPF summer of 1985. It was all about the Cold War and a hot, long-distance romance. 40 years later, I am so grateful for the DPF experience, for the end of the Cold War, for that long-distance relationship and romance, and for my life and ministry together with that still very cute Reverend Phil Jones.
Our young folks have passion. They have dreams and they have hopes for the world. They are faithfully creative. And even as I have grown into my own full-time ministry, I've really become convicted that God does beautiful things with people who show up openly and authentically and have discovered a whole sense of hope, largely through those conversations that were mostly organic.
And as it is the case with all of God's abundance, the more I learn to be a peacemaker, the more there is to learn.
I met a student who was in JROTC and was very concerned about my presence there. Over the course of the week, I think we had an opportunity to connect and see each other as people. And I think that I had the opportunity to show him that educating on the work of peace in the world doesn't have to be in conflict with what our folks who serve the military believe is at the core of their values. Having overlapping understanding of the importance of connecting with one another and being in a larger community as citizens of the world was something that I think changed that camper's life that summer and my life.
The thing I remember most about my summer as a Disciples Peace Fellowship intern wasn't at the camps or the kids at the camps or the presentation that I developed, but it was the people who met me at the airport, who took me to their house, let me do a load of laundry, fed me a good meal, and then delivered me to the next camp. Sometimes they would stay at camp with me and to be a counselor all week. And it was that act of hospitality on the behalf of those volunteers who just gave so generously. And it was this sense that we were all working together to do the work of the church. And that has really just stuck with me and been a gift in my life.
So in order to change the future, one has to be vulnerable about the past. So true healing, connection, purpose, and most importantly, God's love can be birthed into the present. It took the lives of teens all over the United States to teach me that very thing, that to be transparent and open with my experiences, that my story is worth telling. And I could never understand that I was called to care for these here little ones if I wouldn't dare release my own children into my God's hands. And it was through that bravery of stepping away from my family to go care for that God called me to that changed my life forever.